Hi, I'm Beth from Sew Country, and today is finally the day that I get to show you my tutorial for the As You Wish project box. If you watched my previous unboxing video, I explained everything that was in the box, how the box came to be, and all the contributors for it. I'm not going to go into great detail over all that in this video just so I don't bore everyone, but this pattern is from K-Deal Handmade. This is the As You Wish bag. The fabrics, the webbing, the zipper tape is all from Susie from So Girly Fun. I'm using this gorgeous zipper pull from New Moxie. I will be using hardware from So Girly Fun, including this gorgeous double heart twist lock. For my thread, I'll be using this thread from Saya Swag called Lipstick Red, and I will also be using clips from Rosie from Sew Stitch and Cold. The first thing I do whenever I get ready to make a tutorial or to sew a bag is to get everything prepped. So I'm going to go over all the pieces. I'm going to show you where everything's going to go. We're going to kind of talk about it before we even get started sewing. First thing I want to talk about is the webbing. I'm going to be using this webbing for both the strap for the bag and also for the connectors that go on the bottom of the bag. To hold your strap in place, to connect the strap, whether you do it directly here or whether you swivel hooks, you're going to use a piece of webbing to attach all around the bottom of the gusset of the bag. That is what this piece is right here. I went ahead and used the measurements given in the pattern to fold my ends under, and I'm going to show you how I prep that further. But for right now, I just have clips holding it. I have my ends folded under and two rectangular rings attached to it. For my zippers, I'm going to have two zippers in this bag. I'm going to have an exterior, which is going to be the longer piece of zipper tape you're going to cut. It's going to be on the back here. And that is the one that I'm going to use two zipper tabs. We only have two zipper tabs, not four. So go ahead and cut out two. I chose to use my exterior print, and I have them clipped right there. I went ahead and attached my pull to the zipper tape. That is the longer piece of your zipper tape. For the smaller piece of your zipper tape, I went ahead and attached the pull to it. This one's going to be the one that goes inside of the bag to make a zipper pocket. Right here in the back. So I'm going to set this one aside. I'm also going to clip it to the two lining pieces that will be our zipper pocket. On my zipper pocket lining pieces, I'm using waterproof canvas, so I'm not attaching any interfacing at all to these. I'm going to go ahead and set this aside for whenever I need to use it later. The next thing I want to talk about is the flap. So for the flap, I'm using the exterior panel that comes in the box. I did attach some fleece to the back of it. I kept it out of the seam allowance. The pattern piece does have the measurements for that, so you don't have to figure it out. You can just cut it according to that pattern piece. On the back of this other piece, this is my flap lining. I'm not putting anything on it. It is a piece of waterproof canvas. It is sturdy enough, it doesn't need anything else. I'm going to go ahead and clip these two pieces together, and I'm going to set them aside for whenever I need them later. The next piece we're going to look at is our piece C. This is going to be our front slip pocket. I'm going to use one piece of the exterior fabric that comes in the box. I did interface this with a piece of fleece, again keeping it out of the seam allowance. For the lining, I used that waterproof canvas. I did not put anything on the back of it. On the piece C, I already know that this is going to be the part that I'm going to attach the bottom of the twist lock to. The bottom of the twist lock will be this piece. This is the piece that will fit through the double heart that will be on the flap, and I will use it to twist to lock it. I'm also going to have, so I have these two pieces for the twist lock, and I also have a back to kind of help anchor it and to keep it a little more stable. But this will be one of the first things I do is go ahead and get that taken care of. Until then, I'm going to go ahead and set these pieces aside. That's the front slip pocket. I didn't show you that, but that's where that front slip pocket will go. Of course, that's the flap. We have our 2 gusset pieces, one from the lining. I do not add any interfacing to this at all. The other is from the exterior. I did add a piece of fleece, and I did go ahead and keep the fleece out of the seam allowance on this gusset piece as well. For our piece D, this is that lower, let me show you real quick. Our zipper pocket on the back is going to go right here. So this is our piece D that's going to go right here. We have 2 pieces, an exterior and a lining. Once again, I did not add anything to the lining. It's stable enough as it is. I did add the piece of fleece to the back of it. And so I'm going to put these 2 together. This is what we will add this zipper tape to, your basic zipper sandwich. I'm also going to use this piece. I will show you how I add that. This is your piece E. You only need 1 piece of it, which will be the lining piece. Nothing needs to be added to it as long as you use something like a waterproof canvas or some other sturdier material. If you use just a regular cotton woven, you would want to add like some SF101 or something of that nature. The last pieces we're going to talk about is our main body pieces. We're going to have 4 of those. That is B. So for our piece B, we're going to have 2 exteriors and 2 linings. This is going to be the inside of the bag. This is what we're going to attach that zipper pocket to for the inside. This is our exterior. I'm going to add the fleece to the exterior, nothing to the lining. Since I already know that I'm doing a drop-in lining, I did go ahead, and you might not be able to see this too well, but I did go ahead and draw a line across the top of every piece for my bag body. This measurement is in your pattern, and it tells you how far down to make that measurement. What you basically will do is after you get this sewn together, you'll fold down the raw edge of that line. So I went ahead and drew it on ahead of time just to have it there. It's a little easier to draw it on when the pieces are flat instead of when the gussets are already attached. So these are the B main body pieces. That's all the pieces we need. So it may seem like a lot of pieces, but honestly, this comes together so quick, you will be surprised. Every time I sit down to sew this is my 3rd one, I'm always thinking, oh, it'll be a really long sew, and then all of a sudden I'm like, oh wait, I'm already done. It does come together quickly. So before I even get started sewing, I'm going to do some prep work, get some things ready. We were talking about the webbing. The way this webbing is going to work is here is my gusset, and my webbing is going to fit on that gusset just like this. Okay, I know you can't see all that. Let me push it to where you can see at least one end. So this is the way it'll look. You'll have this space in between here, but your D-ring or your rectangular ring will be at the top. First thing I do is I make sure that I have my measurements as the pattern tells me to, and I clip down the raw edges with my rectangular ring attached. I make sure that I have the raw edges both going to the same side, the back side. With the webbing, both sides look the same. You just want to make sure you get them both going the same way. I'm going to take some glue. I'm going to use this Beacon 3-in-1. It dries quickly. It's safe to use. Once it's dry, it's really secure and it doesn't gum up my needle. What I do is I just get some and I put it on there. You don't have to put a lot. After I get some of that on there, I'm going to go ahead and add these clips back to it. Yes, the glue does dry quickly, but I want to have that pressure on there so I can get it to be as secure as possible. I'm going to do that same thing to the other side, and then I'm going to set this piece of webbing so that it can like just dry and get really good and secure, and then I will do this same method using glue to attach it to the gusset. So here's how I started. I'm going to set this aside now while it dries. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to pull out that bottom piece of the twist lock. We are working with my front pocket C. This is the exterior piece. In the box, the twist lock you're given does use screws instead of prongs. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to unscrew the screws to get them out. And here is what I'm working with now. I'm going to use the pattern piece to make the mark for where I'm going to center the washer. Then I will put my washer on the back of my piece C exterior front slip pocket, and I will make 2 marks. I don't know if you can see those, but I made 2 marks right there in the middle. I'm then going to use this hole puncher. You could use anything you wanted. You could even just use your seam ripper if you wanted, but I'm just going to use that hole puncher, and I'm going to punch 2 small holes. At this point, I'm ready to insert it. Now, I will tell you that you can use, I do have stabilizer on this, but if you wanted to use more, you could. You could use Decaville Light, Decaville Heavy, fleece, foam, whatever you feel comfortable with, to make sure that it doesn't pull through, because it is a little bit of a heavier thing there. So at this point, I'm going to push the screws through and attach it to that twist lock. So you can see it just goes right through the hole. If you wanted, you could add a little bit of glue to your screw. I'm not going to do that, but I've heard of some people doing that just to make sure it stays a little bit more secure. It comes right through on the other side, and then I just twist that into place. Once I get it started, I will use my small screwdriver to kind of get it tightened up the right way. I just like to get it started first so it's not falling everywhere, and then I can twist it in. The first side is done. I'm going to repeat that same process for the other side. The other side is going to be just a little bit trickier because you're going to have to get it to go through the back and the front kind of blindly a little bit. Okay, got that poked in. Now I got it there. I won't be able to twist. I'll just have to go right to the screwdriver to get it started. And the twist lock is attached. Now we'll go ahead and add that lining piece. The lining piece C, that's your lining slip pocket. So that's what that looks like. I'm going to set this aside. I'm not ready to sew it just yet because I want to get my gusset finished first, and then I'll sew both of those at the same time. So at this point, I should be able to take off my clips and attach this exactly the way it's supposed to go. It's pretty much going to be centered as long as you did your measurements right. You want to definitely make for sure that you have a gap on both sides, you have it, or space I should say, on both sides, and space at the top and bottom. If not, it's not properly measured, something is off, so definitely check that. Just run a line of glue all down the back wrong side of my webbing. This step is not necessary. You don't have to do this at all, or you could even just use double-sided tape. We all have our preferences of what we like to do. If you're using a vinyl, always make sure you check your vinyl first to make sure that it can handle glue. There are some vinyls that are really thin and they cannot handle glue. I'm going to use a few clips just to hold this in place to make sure everything stays nice and straight while it dries. Once this dries, what I will do is I will just stitch all the way around this webbing, a complete rectangle, and I will get as close as I can to the hardware to kind of secure it in place. That will have my gusset prepared and ready for the next steps. Also, while I'm at the machine, I'll go ahead and stitch from one corner to the next, just along the top, with the seam allowance given of in the pattern for my slip pocket piece C, both the exterior and interior. The other thing that I'm going to do while I'm at the machine is I'm going to go ahead and pull out that back pocket. I'm going to go ahead and take my 2 zipper tabs. I'm going to put one right sides together on each side of the zipper. Make sure you already have your zipper pull on there. Just put a clip in place on each one of these. And then I'm going to stitch these along the short edge with the seam allowance given in the pattern. After I have that stitched down in place, then I will simply fold it back and then top stitch across that folded edge 1/8 of an inch away. Okay, so here we have these pieces prepped. The gusset is completely done, and we're just going to wait until it's time to install this. So I'm going to set it aside. With our slip pocket, what we'll do is we are going to open up that seam. I'm just going to finger press it. Of course, you could take it over to your iron. And then I'm going to flip these two pieces wrong sides together and then top stitch. I want to make sure that seam is rolled down. I'm going to add a few clips in here so I can get a really nice top stitch. With this piece, I'm just going to top stitch all along that top edge, just about 1/8 of an inch away, just to secure everything. And then what I'll do is I'm going to go ahead and pull out one of my exterior main pieces, the main body piece. Doesn't matter which one. After I top stitch, then I'm just going to lay this on top, matching up the sides and the bottom, and then I'm going to baste all around this piece, and this will be ready for our next step then. So I'll do that. Also, I'm going to take out this zipper and get those zipper back pocket pieces. It's our D and our E. So our E we're going to set aside, but the D exterior and our lining, we're going to make that zipper sandwich. The way I like to do my zipper sandwich is I like to start with the lining. If I want my pull to close to the left, I need to flip it this way, and then I just baste it in place. So I baste that first with that 1/8 of an inch seam allowance, and then I take my exterior and I put it right sides together, so right sides down onto this piece. And then I sew with that full seam allowance across the top. After I do that, I will flip it and top stitch it just like you would any other traditional zipper sandwich when working with a pocket. So let's do these steps first. We'll set this E piece right here aside because I'm going to use it in just a minute, but not just yet. So I went ahead and top stitched that front slip pocket so it looks great. I added it to the front exterior main body piece, so I have that attached. I'm going to set this aside. I'm going to pull out this bottom half of the zipper pocket that I'm working on. This is going to be the back of the bag. So what I have so far is I have the zipper tabs on it, the front exterior, the lining. The next thing I need to do is pull out that E lining piece. And what we're going to do is it should match up perfectly. If not, you can adjust it, but you're just going to match up all around. Let me explain that a little bit better. E will be right sides up. Your lining will be right sides together with it. So you'll place this whole piece that you just did, you'll place it right on top of it. matching up all the raw edges. It should be just perfectly fitting, no issues there. And what you're going to do at this point is you're just going to baste all the way around and make this one complete unit. So now I have that attached. The zipper, if you open it up, it's fully functional. Everything's working great. So for this back pocket, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull out my flat piece. That's the piece that I have my panel on. I'm going to place it right sides down, right on top of that zipper, matching everything up, centering it. And then you're just going to sew across there with the seam allowance given in the pattern. Now that I have that attached, I'm going to flip it up and I'm going to top stitch along the flap just 1/8 of an inch away from that sewn edge that we just sewed. So it's the folded edge. I always like to pull things really nice and tight on this part so no like bunching, gapping, everything looks nice and straight. I go slow and I keep that edge of my foot right along the edge of the flap. So now we've finished sewing that exterior flap. What we're going to do is we're going to pull out that lining piece and we're going to place these right sides together. I'm going to go ahead and add a few clips here and then I'll explain how we're going to sew this. When we are sewing this, we're only sewing the flap. We're sewing these two pieces right side together, the exterior and the lining, because we're going to turn them out and have that flap fully finished. So you can see this is our bottom pocket. We're not sewing it. So we're going to start sewing with this curve and go all the way around and come back down to this curve. Do not go down here. You'll keep your seam allowance right here. So the way I'll fit this under my needle is basically just like that, so that my stitches aren't going down to that bottom part. I'm going to sew all the way around and then I'll turn it and then we'll top stitch it. So now that I have that sewn together, you can notch your corners if you need to, or cut little slits in there to make it turn easier. I'm not too worried about that part, so I am just going to go ahead and flip this. Make sure that your flap is completely sewn down at the bottom and just kind of smooth it out. I'm going to put a few clips in there. And then I'm just going to top stitch around. Now, technically at this point in the pattern, it tells you to go ahead and add your twist lock. I'm not going to. I am waiting. I'm just so nervous that it won't fit properly. So I'm going to sew up everything and then that will be the last thing I do, just so I can make sure it fits perfectly and I don't have any issues there. Definitely if you feel like you're ready, go ahead and install it now, but I'm just going to wait. What I am going to do is I'm going to go ahead and pull out my other bag exterior. So that is the piece B. Go ahead and pull out that piece and we're going to line this up and go ahead and match it up. It should match on your sides and your bottom. Of course, it went on the top. And I'm just going to base this in place. So this is what I have right now. There is that slip pocket hidden there. Let's go ahead and pull out that other exterior piece. And we're ready to add the gusset around to this now. Almost always add the gusset to the front first. All I do is I find the centers of both pieces. I'm going to clip the two top places and the center first. Those are the two places I'll clip first, and then I'll just kind of smooth it in, kind of fit it around to get everything else. So let's clip that in place. After I get it clipped, I'm just going to sew all the way around the gusset with that seam allowance given in the pattern. Then you will see me do the exact same thing for the back of the bag and have the gussets completely attached. Okay, I have the first side of the gusset sewn on to the front. Whenever I'm attaching the back, make sure you understand that you're attaching to the bag body, not this flap part. So your flap will be down in there and you're going to attach to that. So come over here and you can go ahead and clip that gusset. And of course we're clipping this all right sides together. Go ahead and clip that up there first so you kind of understand what you're doing and don't get confused while you're sewing or while you're even clipping. Get those two pieces. I always push the hardware down too, just so it's not in the way. Okay, so now that I have the gusset sewn around the exterior, all I need to do now is flip this out. If you're concerned, you can notch your corners or anything like that. I'm comfortable with just doing it this way since I did not have any interfacing in my seams. I know it should be okay. Everything looks great. It looks perfect. If you remember in the beginning of this video, I went ahead and drew a line because I knew I was going to be doing a drop-in lining. At this point, you get to choose if you want to add a row of double-sided tape along this top raw edge or not, but basically what you're going to do is you're going to be folding this exterior raw edge down to meet that line you drew. Of course, you have the option to birth this bag. That's your choice. I'm doing it this method. So what I'm going to do is I am going to run a line of double-sided tape all the way around this top perimeter. I'm going to fold everything down and clip in place and get that ready for whenever I finish my lining. I'm not going to do that on camera right now, but I will put that double-sided tape down there before I insert the lining, just for ease of everything to make sure it stays in place. So that's the way it'll look, and that'll be the finished edge right there that I'll sew with the lining. But first we got to get our lining finished. I just want to take a minute to show you guys this template that I use to make my zipper boxes. This is from Lauren Mormino. It is one of her older items. I assume she still has them available for her on her website, but it is such a cool item. I use it all the time. I'm not going to show you how I use this because since it does have markings on there, it would kind of give away part of the pattern pieces. So I wanted to show it to you ahead of time. If you don't have one of these, definitely look into getting one. They really help me a lot. This is what I did use to draw the box onto my lining pieces. So here is my one lining piece for the zipper pocket. I don't know if you can see, but I've already drawn the box on using that ruler I have. That is one piece. Here is my second piece. Let's find that zipper that I had set aside with the zipper pull attached. And let's pull out our remaining lining pieces. We have the two main lining pieces, that's our B, and then we have our gusset. Our gusset will fit on exactly the same way that it does for the exterior. I'm not going to show you that process since we already know it. The only thing I'm going to do is show you how to add the zipper pocket, and then we will go forward with adding the lining off camera and get that gusset made. It'll be the exact same as the exterior. If you have any questions, let me know, and then I will come back to show you how we put it all together. The pattern tells us how far down we measure to place this lining pocket. It also tells you how far down to add that zipper box. I'm going to go ahead and sew directly on this line that I drew. So I'm basically drawing a rectangle. After I draw that, I will cut it out, push my lining through, and install my zipper. So let's get started doing those steps. So now that I have that hole in the lining, I'm just pushing the lining pocket through. I'm going to add a few clips here just so I can kind of help the fabric know which way I want it to lay. I will take these clips out before I sew the zipper in. If you have a material that can be ironed easily, you can take care of the iron, but I feel like the clips will be fine just for a few minutes. So now I have the opening for my lining. I am going to take my zipper with the pull attached. It's closing to the left. And what I'll do is I'll take those clips off, and then I will just center that zipper tape so that the teeth are right in the middle of that opening. You can use double-sided tape if you want here. I typically don't. I just make sure the zipper is centered both in width and length, and just sew completely around that box there. I have the zipper attached. What I'll do is I'll flip over the bottom. I'm going to go ahead and trim down that zipper tape just a little bit. I'm going to take my remaining zipper pocket lining piece and place it right sides together with this other piece. And so I'm going to clip around there. I'm going to sew all around the perimeter of this with the seam allowance given the pattern. I do not need to leave an opening because I'm doing a drop-in lining. So now I have my zipper pocket complete. I don't have anything else to do. I'm not doing anything to this side of the lining. Next step is to attach the gusset. Like I said, it's going to go on the exact same way as we did the gusset on the exterior, so I'm not showing that on camera. The only other thing after that, I will do this same thing that I just explained about doing on the exterior. That line I drew in the beginning of this video, what I'll do is I'll fold down the raw edge to that line after I sew the gusset on, not before. You can use double-sided tape if you want, again, there also. And then I will come back to show you those pieces and then do our last steps to finish the bag. So let's look at what we got at this point. I have my exterior right sides out. I have it clipped and folded down so the raw edge is folded in and it's just the smooth edge all the way around. I did the same thing with the lining, except I left it wrong sides out, but I went ahead and clipped it all the way around that same, to just folded it down to that same line that I had drawn. All you do now is simply slip it in. So you just take your lining and you literally drop it in. That's why it's called a drop-in lining. All I have to do now is match up the seams, clip everything all the way around, and then I just top stitch all the way around once and it's done. And then I have to still install my twist lock, and I also have to figure out how I'm going to do the strap. I haven't decided that yet. I match up the side seams first, and that way everything will be nice and lined up all the way around. And you just try to make sure they're kind of even, like the same height, but really it just fits pretty perfectly, and it just, to me, is a better way to get a perfect fit on a bag. You don't have to worry about how it'll look when you turn it, and you only sew once around. You don't have to sew twice around. Okay, so there I have the fit. I have it situated. All I'm going to do now is top stitch all around. I think I want to do it like this, but if it gets too bulky, I'll just flip it inside out. But I think I definitely want to top stitch on the exterior side because I want to make sure I get like that nice straight stitching all the way around. I just don't know if I feel like turning it inside out or not. So I'm going to try it this way, just stitching like this, making sure I keep that back part out of the way. But if I get aggravated with it, I'll just flip it inside out. Okay, so that part is done. Everything looks great. I have a few threads to trim, but other than that, we're ready to go down and add that twist lock. Okay, I'm going to go off camera. I'm going to measure everything out to make for sure I have the proper measurements. I don't want to have a ruler and everything on camera. But with this twist lock, the way we're going to do it is we're going to take out the 3 screws, and I'm going to use the same method I used the last time to punch the holes and to insert the screws. Okay, so I got the hole started, and I went ahead and attached one of the screws there at the bottom just so I could get it like secure a little bit to make it a little bit easier. It's tricky to do this because you want to not cut it too big, but what you want to do is get enough clearance so that you can see the hole for the screw, but you don't want to like get too deep in cutting your fabric and having it fray or make mistakes. You can add a layer of fray check all around here. You can add glue, anything to kind of help keep the fraying at bay. So now that I have the screw holes exposed, what I'm going to do is I'm going to twist this around. This is the wrong side, and I will slowly start putting these screws in. It will take a while, so I'll speed up this part, but I did just want to come back and at least show you what it's looking like. The twist lock is attached. Is mine perfect? No. Here's some things that I would do differently, or what I suggest you do differently. Make sure, if you can, to have your panel down a little bit lower. I would have preferred to have a little more space at the top. See how it's not centered evenly? And I'm like the worst at getting it centered. So I would definitely move this down a little bit further. But also you got to think about, if I moved it down too much, then my twist lock would be in the space of the words. So I would move it down a little bit and then maybe have the twist lock a little bit lower. That's just some thoughts I have on this just right off the bat. I definitely need to iron this. Like I said, the fleece made it kind of wrinkly, so I'm going to do that. The only other thing I have to do, and let me just show you inside. Everything looks great. Everything is finished. The only thing I have to do is to make the strap. In the pattern, there's there's one option besides a traditional strap. I'm just going to do a traditional strap. So for my strap, I'm just going to do a basic adjustable strap with swivel hooks, nothing fancy. So I went ahead and slid on the adjustable bar. I'm just going to push down that raw edge and sew it in place. I'm then going to slide on one swivel hook, then take the other free edge and feed it through the adjustable bar again. And then on this free edge, I'm going to take my other swivel hook, put it on, and then fold down the other raw edge and stitch that in place. If you're uncomfortable with just one row of stitching, you could do 2, or you could add rivets. So my bag is officially complete. The details are perfect, from the artwork to the custom hardware, especially that gorgeous zipper pull in the back, the red tape, and even the red thread. Everything comes together to make a unique custom bag. It's such a cute, fun project. Everything comes all together quickly, and the box just means that you don't have to think about anything or worry about getting different pieces. It's just all in one. I'm going to have the link for how you can purchase this bag in my description, as well as the other YouTube channels who are doing tutorials for this. Several people are going to be creating videos, so you can watch all of them, because everyone will have a different tip or trick or something they do, so you can find all those details. So thank you so much for watching this video. I really appreciate Susie, Kathy, Keziah, Rosie, Nicole, everybody who contributed something to this box. Thank you for letting me be a part of it. I can't wait to see what you create with your box, and I hope you have a great day sewing.